So some policies that I'm passionate on, that I feel you guys are passionate on as well, that I feel we disagree on, include the status of our immigration policy in the US, the perspective on pro-life versus pro-choice, and the idea of how we ought to tax the American people. Did you want me to elaborate on?
Well, listen, let's elaborate one at a time. Let's start with illegal aliens voting. Are you in favor of anybody in the world come to this country, change it the way they want to, and completely ignore you? Are you in favor of that?
I think that that's an exaggeration of what the actual perspective on what we think we should do in the nation is. I feel very few people in the US, I would say probably around 5% of Americans, think that illegal immigrants should be allowed to vote in the US. And I feel like that's often a perspective intentionally taken up to villainize the opposite side of the political aisle.
Now, are you for fairness?
Of course.
Now, if we went to the countries that came from and we wanted to vote, would we be allowed to vote?
If we had legally gone through the immigration policies.
Oh, I mean, just like they came across the border, like they are now by the millions, would we be allowed to vote in the places they come from?
Nope.
Okay. What's the next issue? How about pro-life versus pro-choice?
Wait, I feel like I have a lot more to say about the whole immigration policy.
Okay, let's make this just about immigration.
Okay. So, the biggest problem that we have with the immigration policies in America is that we make it too hard for people to become legal US citizens. The people who immigrate to our country want to become legal US citizens, but normally come to our country on visas. And then once they get around the time of their expiration of their visas, they see that the options are either to stay in the US and continue making money for families that they have back at home, or to just go back and never be allowed into the country again, or go through the immigration process, which could take years and years, and is a time length that immigrants are not able to wait for because they have people that are dependent on them. So when they see that their visas are going to be overstayed, they decide to stay in America because that's the only choice that happens. When we hear the whole border hopping or crossing the wall or anything like that, that accounts for a small minority of how a lot of immigrants actually come to this country. More often than not, they're coming into our country legally and then staying too long, which brings them to the illegal immigrant status. Oh, and another thing, I could show you the facts on this. Immigrants bring an economic boon to this country. They provide more economic benefit to this country than what they siphon out of this country. So from an economic perspective, it's beneficial to have immigrants here. And also from a crime perspective, I also have the facts on this. An illegal immigrant is less likely to commit crime in the US than a legal US citizen. So all the facts to me point in the direction that we should be pushing for policies that make becoming a US citizen more simple, instead of this strange narrative that I think has been built up in a lot of Republicans' minds that it's a bunch of drug peddling, raping, border hoppers that just come to bring drugs to the country. That is a false narrative.
Question for you.
Okay.
If somebody knocked on your door at 12 o'clock p.m. loudly, would you go to the door, or would you look to see who it is before you open the door?
I'd look to see who it is.
Well, that would be for anybody.
Okay.
Okay. And that's the fear factor. Do you carry, you have a gun permit?
I do not.
You do not. So you're open season on you. So don't tell me your name or where you live.
Okay. Right, I see what you're trying to say. But I feel like that kind of curbs the point that I was trying to make. We could make these people who are illegally staying in our country currently, we can make that process a whole lot simpler for them to become US citizens, but we don't, because we just inefficiently allocate staffing, we inefficiently allocate legal, I'm forgetting the word, legal support on getting these
got
people
about
to legal status.
20 seconds to go.
Oh, okay.
I gave you a lot of leeway. Yeah. I'm going to post this on YouTube so everybody can see it.
No problem, I'm comfortable with that.
And are you 25 or older?
I'm I'm 24.
24. I figure that's about the age. When you're 35, you'll see it differently. But maybe not. But listen, Chris Murphy started just like you.
Okay.
So maybe there's hope. Anyway, thank you very much.